welcome back to Distorted Opinions. I'm joined by Matt and Ted, and Matt, what are you doing?
Matt, we're wanting to record this. We actually have a guest this week to talk about video games. Can you not be playing Mario right now?
Good.
All right, we're ready.
Sorry, we'll try this again.
Good?
Sorry.
All right. Welcome back to Distorted Opinions. I'm Kayla, and I'm joined by Matt and Ted. And as you may recall, a few months ago, we did the first in a series of episodes on video game soundtracks. This is always a popular topic with our viewers and our listeners. We haven't talked about it in a bit, so we thought we would revisit it. And we wanted to bring back a guest that we had on from our first episode on this topic. And I'm embarrassed to admit that I did not give her a proper introduction on that episode. And
let's fix that.
Yeah, I don't think I gave her an introduction, period, actually. So today we're going to fix that. We're going to give her a proper introduction. Today, we are joined by Michelle. Michelle is a longtime friend and an avid gamer. And I know she's played a lot of games since the last time we had her on the show. So we wanted to bring her back to talk about some of those games and some of her favorite soundtracks. So Michelle, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome
Hey,
back.
a formal intro, finally.
That's right.
Months
now
later.
People know who you are. Yes. If you saw the first episode on this topic, this is Michelle. she's joining us again. So I know we've got a lot to talk about. So let's get right into it here.
I'm looking forward to what games you're playing. I know last time we were playing a couple of pretty interesting games and whatnot that I managed to check out and whatnot, but I gotta know what you're playing now these days.
Yeah, so the two that I'm going to talk about are two indie games. So really great independent developers, one of which is the game Hades. It was actually up for Game of the Year this year, which is pretty rare for like an indie game to get to that level. It didn't win Game of the Year, but it was among the rest of them in the Video Game Awards this year. And it is a great game based on the Greek gods. And you're basically playing as Zagreus, who is the son of Hades, and you're trying to break out of Hades, pretty much. And it's a really, really fun game. But the other thing that's really remarkable about it is its soundtrack. And it was, just checking the notes, Darren Cobb who composed it. And this game has beautiful melodies. It has these bass lines that really stand out at times, very complicated. And then it just has some like great just rock tunes, like you just want to headbang while you're playing the game.
Nice.
And it's just really stood out to me. It's a very unique game, and I just think they really put a lot of time into the soundtrack, and it's like noticeably there in a good way. Mm-hmm. But you definitely notice the music, and one of the songs from that game will be in my my song of the week. The other game that maybe people haven't heard about is Blasphemous, and that's another indie game. It's by the Game Kitchen, which is a small developer in the south of Spain. And it is just such a unique game because it's it's kind of like Dark Souls, but also a bit like Castlevania, like old school Castlevania.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's a 2D side scroller. And you'll just, if you pull it up, you'll look at it and you'll just be like, this is Castlevania. It looks like it was developed like in the 90s, and it was made, I think 2 years ago it came out. And while the look of it is old school, the music is not old school. It's this really nice like Spanish style of strings. It's almost calming at some times, which is nice because it's actually kind of a frustrating game. It's not easy. It's a punishing platformer. And then you'll just hear like this nice little like strumming of strings, and you're like, oh,
so it's a tease.
So nice. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Well, and I will say that, I'm familiar with that, the music of Blasphemous in that Spanish style guitar and the strings that you're referencing there, it does have almost a Diablo 2 vibe to it in terms of some of that calm, relaxing component that Michelle was talking about. But definitely, it's relaxing too. And one I know exactly the song that you're talking about, and it really is one of the really good songs of a new game that came out in 2020, or in the past 2 years. I say that was 2018. I think you said.
Yeah, I think 2018 is when Blasphemous came out. But and the rhythm just works really well because Ted watched me play it, and it's like you're jumping from platform to platform, and something about the beat of the music, the rhythm of it just really works well for a platformer. It's it gets stuck in your head too.
That's when you know it's a good theme.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. And it just it works well with the atmosphere. It's dark, but it's somewhat calming at times. It's just A+. So
nice.
Let's kick your ass, but then let's massage your bum. That's exactly what it is.
I also wanted to just give credit to the composer too. That's Carlos Viola worked on that soundtrack. And
nice.
What a perfect name for someone who got into music. I'm wondering if that's their real name or not.
Interesting.
Viola.
Very interesting.
Sounds like a character name.
I know.
It does.
Yeah.
Did you unlock Yola?
Hidden character.
And for those that are not familiar, I know Michelle was referencing her first game, Hades. Hades is also known as the word as hell. So in case you're curious as to...
Or not familiar with Greek mythology whatsoever.
Yep, it's hell. So when you're playing the game, you're not going to get unicorns and pumpkins. You're going to get, scorpions.
And Hades is an interesting game because the art style, again, being an indie game, they, certainly experimenting with some of the different ways to, generate the graphics for the game. But it's very, not to say cartoonish, but it's a very neat art style for what Hades had to offer. So definitely very cool. And I'll say the same thing for Blasphemous. I mean, that 90s side scroller vibe, super strong. You look at that and you're like, what year did this come out? Oh, 2018. Cool. But very neat.
Fairly recent. I like it. I'll have to check those games out.
You should.
Yeah.
I'll have to check them out.
Highly recommend both of them. Both of them are kind of dark. I was thinking about that before I started. I'm like, both of these games are kind of on the dark side. Like,
not to sound sick and whatnot, but usually dark games are my go-to.
Yeah.
It's weird.
We're sick people.
Oh, very, very much so. Very, very much
We didn't
so.
need to talk about games to know that, though.
You're right.
Yeah.
Anybody who's been listening to this show.
Rated M games is the way I go.
Yeah.
Well,
Rated T,
the game that I picked to talk about this week is not dark, rather a vintage game that I'm quite sure all of us have played. Most likely at Fun Spot, if not another arcade. But I'm going to talk about Outrun from 1986 because that soundtrack is actually pretty decent. So going absolute throwback to a classic game that should be quite familiar. If you don't remember the name, you'll definitely recognize the... it was a driving game that came out in 1986 by Sega, and you're in a red Ferrari Testarossa.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the guy and this blonde passenger, and you're basically running through checkpoints and not trying to hit traffic. But when you do, the car flips all over crazy and then comes right back on its wheels again, and you try to make it to the next checkpoint before the time runs out. Yeah, but the music actually has a very good groove to it. So it's perfect for driving and racing, but it has an electronic, obviously, given the era, but island flair. So the palm trees that you're driving by, it kind of gives you that sense of you might be in a warmer climate, hence the convertible at the same time. And there's definitely some of the percussion in that has a steel drum flare at the same time. So definitely took a quick listen to remind myself, and I was like, oh yeah, like definitely islandish at the same time to complete that feel. And that whole soundtrack for that game is just under 15 minutes long, which for an arcade game, that's kind of all you need. So, but yeah, like I was saying, I think you could probably still find this, the arcade version at Fun Spot up in Laconia, New Hampshire, because that's where I played it as a kid. And provided that it still works to this day, some of their games are kind of getting run down, unfortunately. But this game was released on the Commodore 64 and all of Sega's platforms, Genesis, Game Gear, and I just saw that it looks like it's actually on the Switch. So you can.
That would make sense because they have that whole retro game section.
Yeah, the retro arcade section.
Yeah.
Yep. So for bringing it to current, it should be on the Switch, which I haven't gone looking for, but if you've never played it, now's a chance, and you can hear the soundtrack.
I guess I'll let you borrow it.
Yeah, thanks. And then just to mention the composer, it was composed by Hiroshi Kawaguchi. So he also did some other Sega titles through the years, through the 90s, but this one really stands out to me. So that is my pick to talk about for this week.
Well, and apparently you can also get the Outrun arcade cabinet, like the full-size thing from GameStop for $550. So if you're looking for the actual sit down and play the game, and you've got the space in your house, you can buy the full-size game and
a jam session.
GameStop would have that.
Jam session, homemade beer, and then Outrun. Right in all one area.
There is no in-store pickup. It's online only, so they're shipping it from a warehouse or something. But
interesting.
It comes with 4 games.
It's 4 different Outrun games in that series, I believe.
Yes.
Is it an Arcade 1? Is it from Arcade 1?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so it's got Outrun, Turbo Outrun, Outrunners, and Power Drift.
Yep, those are the 4 part of that series.
Oh my God.
Matt's going to be making a purchase when this show is over.
Can you imagine trying to put...
His wife will feel about that, but...
The kids' toys I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I told my wife, I said I came very, very, very close to buying that Turtles 4-player cabinet.
Oh, geez.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun.
Putting it in the living room because... But then she kindly reminded me that COVID's still currently happening. So
yeah, you can't play with other people.
Yeah, can't. I mean, and she's not really
unless
a video
she's
game
gonna
person.
Play. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, my son, can't even reach the controls, nor does he even know what Turtles is. So
not yet.
We'll see, but
eventually.
Eventually. Oh.
Yeah. That's making a wish list.
Yeah, I know that wish list is growing right now. Add to cart. Wait, stop.
We need like animation of just like the wheel spinning.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I'm sure people can smell the smoke through their devices right now of the gears turning up here. And yeah.
My iced coffee instantly went to hot after that discussion.
Nice. Matt, I believe you had mentioned before we started the show that you have a game this week that Michelle touched on briefly in her list of games, because you've gotten contacted by some people since our last show who were disappointed that we had not talked about this yet. So I don't know if you want to talk about that now.
We'll rip the Band-Aid off and whatnot.
All right.
In the very first segment of our video games, I was talking about, I talked about how, video games and, my cousins are, we're big video game guys and whatnot. And I couldn't help but say that, a couple of them reached out and said, why didn't you talk about Castlevania? Why have you not talked about that? And of course, I got flack from the first episode, then I got flack from the second episode. So now we're on our third video game episode, and we are going to talk about Resident Evil. No, I'm just kidding. No, we're going to be talking about Castlevania.
I think I love Castlevania.
Huh?
I did.
Maybe it was just it wasn't enough, not deep enough of a dive.
Go ahead, Matt.
but there's so much to talk about with Castlevania. I mean, when I'm thinking of Castlevania, I'm thinking about we're talking about the retro Castlevania, that between the 1986, 1988 era, specifically Castlevania, and then even Simon's Quest Castlevania 2. Now the composer for the one I'm going to be specifically talking about is one particular song out of the whole series, which always, and actually even to this day, and even in the anime Netflix series, which I definitely recommend checking out. But the theme, Bloody Tears. Now, I believe, Michelle, I think when we had you on the episode, you talked about Bloody Tears for a very brief segment and whatnot. And I had to bring that back because we need to talk more on it. So Bloody Tears, composer is Kenichi Matsubara. And there's, I don't even know where to begin with this. When we're thinking of Bloody Tears, it's got that gothic, vampiric type of, name to it. And when you're thinking of Castlevania, for those that are thinking of Castlevania, is the protagonist going after and trying to kill Dracula's curse. Now, for Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, obviously, it take just a little synopsis. Spoiler alert. So if you blank me out or fast forward, but if you haven't played this game, I'm gonna give you a spoiler. But pretty much it takes about 7 years after the first game, and Dracula's curse is now back onto Simon Belmont, and now he has to go ahead and find these 5 parts to go ahead and fully defeat Dracula. There's 3 alternate endings to the game, but specifically, the song that, again, I'm talking about is Bloody Tears. This is such an upbeat type of tune. It's a in-your-face, going into the adventure, and it really starts off the series on a really, really great note. So similar to what the first game was, its predecessor. Bloody Tears is one of those songs that, again, it's always covered. When you think of Castlevania, they don't really think of the first theme song. They think of Bloody Tears. And really, it's been one of those caveat Konami titles that has distributed further into, even to today. And I could see it even being expected, later on down the road. I mean, as I was mentioning, Bloody Tears is referenced in this current Netflix anime, of Castlevania. So it just goes to show that every Castlevania game that they had, there's some sort of a different composing aspect to the theme song as well. So I definitely recommend checking Bloody Tears out.
So I just took a quick look at the release history, according to Wikipedia, for Castlevania. There are 26 different games that. Yep. Variations of Castlevania over the years between 1986 and through 2014. It's a wild amount. Obviously, we're all familiar with the earlier versions, and there's certainly other ones that we've definitely wound up playing, like the Dracula X Chronicles that came out in 2007. Like, I remember that game. Yep. But just the fact that, looking at the whole catalog of all those games, I'm just surprised there's 26 in that time. So it's
crazy. And if you think about it, Bloody Tears was, so you said there was 26 titles?
Yeah.
So there's 25 different variations of Bloody Tears. In every single, for the exception of the first game, because obviously the theme song wasn't out. But I definitely recommend YouTubing it. It's pretty unique. It's pretty wild, and it may not even state it's Bloody Tears, but when you listen to certain songs of those certain different soundtracks, you'll get a Bloody Tears element to it. So it's great to see that they kept that nostalgia part from its predecessor game to even further. Again, when you think of Bloody Tears, you think of Castlevania. It's got the name even has that vampiric, element to it and whatnot. But wanted to touch real quick, on, bringing Bloody Tears back. But the second one I'm going to talk about, Ted, I always think of you every time I play this game, especially at the very, very end. But you guys familiar with Final Fantasy X?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The whole soundtrack is by far probably the best of the best of the best out of the whole Final Fantasy series. If for those that are listening out there that disagree, please reach out and
that
give
sounds
me...
like shots fired.
Those are some words.
It is. It's
I can
lovable.
hear the keyboards.
It's a lovable game.
There's a mashing of keys, not mashing of teeth.
They're gonna start like slamming like keyboards and whatnot. How dare he say? But please reach out to us, distortedopinionshow@gmail.com.
He's just causing controversy so we get more feedback.
Yes. Because, and please reach out, because the Final Fantasy X soundtrack is by far the best out of the whole series. Okay, I don't care what anyone says. I mean, give me a valid reason. If there's gonna be anything that's gonna be close to it, is maybe, just maybe, Final Fantasy VI, specifically Terra's theme, also known as Final Fantasy III and Super Nintendo. But yeah, Ted, I always think of you on this one, man. There's a song at the when you're thinking when you're defeating the last boss. I'm not gonna give spoilers because it's one of those games. I think if people haven't played it, I won't spoil it for them. But I definitely recommend playing it. Braska's final Aeon theme, dude. When you're going into this battle, I mean, we're talking about heavy metal, pound your face, get your ass kicked, get ready for a battle. It is not only so much as the battle intense, but the music behind it, the distortion behind it, the heavy drums behind it, the double bass pedaling behind it is like, it's nerve-wracking. You actually get goosebumps going into this battle. And I remember the first time playing this saying, I'm going to crap my pants. What have I gotten myself into? Do I have enough, elements behind it? Do I have enough, do I have enough HP, MP, you name it? I don't know what I'm going to get myself into. I actually sent my ex home, because I was more incorporated into beating this guy's ass, than spending time with my ex-girlfriend. That's how important this battle was to me. So that just goes to show that and whatnot.
And no, never mind. Yeah. We will leave that one alone. Yeah.
See, I like Final Fantasy VII a lot.
As gameplay, or he's talking specifically soundtracks? Music wise too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we'll have to have a side conversation.
I guess
so. We'll
no
talk
need to send an email. Michelle's bringing it right now on the show. Gloves are
Sword
off.
Opinions debate now. But dude, this theme song, Ted. If Ted, you're not really a Final Fantasy guy though.
It is not my cup of tea.
Okay.
So I actually, as you were saying that, I have the theme song pulled up on YouTube, so I'll listen to it immediately after we're done recording here.
And if we need to do a cover of it when we do, jam sessions, I'm on it. I'm all over it. Okay. I know our friend Harris is going to be all over it too, because he loves that game as well. But getting back to the point, the composer is, and I'm going to probably mess this name up or whatnot, but it's Nobuo Uematsu. And it's originally arranged. He was part he's the composer of it, but he also pulled in a guitarist, which is from the Black Mages. He's the rhythm guitarist, and their name is Michio Okamiya. And there's actually lyrics to this. So for the first time, what's unique about Final Fantasy X is that it's actually the first game that started incorporating, vocals to the characters. Now, for those that are familiar with the Final Fantasy series, it's usually just subtitles. But 10 really incorporated the voicing of of these characters. So now you get to actually see the personality behind these characters. Titus, Waka, Yuna. I mean, we could go throughout the Oron. We could go throughout the whole series and whatnot. But what's also unique about this game as well is that it's got a great storyline. So again, maybe call me biased that I think it's probably, again, the best Final Fantasy out there. Next to 7, I'll give it to 7. So it's very close. Michelle, I'll give you that. Give it a little close. But it's got a great soundtrack and it's got a great gameplay and whatnot. But besides that, Ted, I always think of you when I'm playing that battle. I'm thinking of that song. After the show, definitely recommend, and you'll understand why. It's definitely your area.
Nice.
But also, what's great about this too is that the opening theme song to Final Fantasy X, which is called, I believe it's called to Xanarkin, it's got piano elements to it. Final Fantasy.
Oh, that is a really gorgeous song.
It's a lovable, melodic, soft like intro to the song, and again, the first of its kind to incorporate vocals for each character. So when you're introduced to who this character is, who's known as Titus, he says, "This is my story." It's, you're going into a full-fledged adventure. And the theme song behind it to Xanarkin is just, I highly recommend it. It's literally like a movie. I don't know Michelle, I don't know how you think, but it's like, I felt like playing the game. It was like a whole movie from beginning to end. You have the high points and you have the low points, and you think everything's going to be great. And then all of a sudden there's a turn of events. A wedding happens. And you have to break up the wedding. Okay, that's the only little bit of a spoiler or whatnot. But and pretty much it's got like a Robin Hood element to it. So but we're talking about Final Fantasy X. We're not talking about Final Fantasy X2, which I have different opinions on. Which I'm gonna pretend that the game. I'm gonna pretend that game didn't even exist. To be honest with you, 10 is 10 is 10. But that's pretty much the only two games I really want to talk about, which was hey, we got heaven and then we got hell. Okay, we got Castlevania, which is an incredible, vampiric. You get that Hades element that Michelle was talking about, and then we got the Final Fantasy, which is all of the above. I mean, if Final Fantasy X was a dessert, it would be probably vanilla bean with
very lackluster.
Yeah. You know what? I tried to be, it's heaven. There we go. You know what? Final Fantasy X is like a Krispy Kreme donut. You bite into it and it's warm and it's fuzzy and you feel good.
Fuzzy.
You feel good everywhere.
I don't know. You want to put fuzzy with donuts. It sounds like you're eating a bad donut.
Well, hey, I mean, if anyone's eating a fuzzy donut, again, reach out to distortedopinionshow@gmail.com and tell me why you think it's great.
I don't want to know. Keep that stuff to yourself.
Fuzzy donuts. But other than that, Kayla, I believe that leaves you with your pick. What do you got for today's show?
Yeah, so I'm kind of like old school in my gaming, as I've said on other shows, and so I'm for just a second here, I'm gonna side trip back to your oh my God, why did I just blank on the name of the game you were just talking about? You were literally just Final Fantasy.
Castlevania?
Final Fantasy. So wow.
Fantasy Day Final.
Yes.
I think it was the last episode we did on this, or maybe it was the first one, I talked about Secret of Mana. Or Secret of Mana. Yeah. And you, I believe, had mentioned that was actually supposed to be part of the Final Fantasy series.
Yes, it was.
And so I went and played Final Fantasy, is it 3? The one that they did for Super Nintendo? I always
also
get confused.
known as 6 on the PlayStation, yes?
Yeah. I'm going to be totally honest. I think I'm with Ted. I'm not sure it's my cup of tea. I mean, for some reason, I just had a really hard time getting into it, and I haven't played any of the more recent versions of the game, but that one in particular, I only got so far, and then I was like, I don't know about this.
Can I give you an opinion? Can I give you my
distorted opinion?
This is distorted opinions.
My distorted opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
6 is a Final Fantasy 3, Super Nintendo, Final Fantasy 6, everything else. It's a time consumer. Okay. It's a patience game. If you want to get into the adventure game, I may recommend, if you want to try to get back into Final Fantasy, is do Final Fantasy 4, also known as Final Fantasy 2 on Super Nintendo. Better story, better gameplay.
Sure.
And it's a lot easier to navigate. But what's also great too is that Final Fantasy 4 came out with a sequel later on and it came out, I want to say, again, this is just a guesstimate, probably about maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And I'm actually just going to look it up real quick for sequel. They came out with a game called The After Years.
Okay.
So it goes to show that I played The After Years. It's not bad. It's very good. Again, I think they could have just gone away with just number 4. But if you go jump into the Final Fantasy world again, I definitely recommend 4. Okay. If you liked 4, then definitely give The After Years a try and think of it because it's a continuation of it, of the story, and it's a lot easier. So 6 is a little more mechanical because it's it was more heavily dealt with what's now known as Machina. So kind of like the robotic military warfare.
Sure.
And obviously they managed to continue on. Obviously it was introduced more further into 7 and then later down the road, but try Final Fantasy 4 and then let me know what your thoughts.
All right.
Send an email to distortedopinionshow@gmail.com.
Will do. I'll read my own
Hey guys,
email.
we got this message.
We have a message from Kayla.
That's right. I sent myself a message. Do you want to hear it? Yeah, no, I mean, I could certainly see the similarities between that and Secret of Mana as far as the graphics, but yeah, I just couldn't get into the actual gameplay of it. I played for a while and I just kind of gave up on it. So I will check out 4. Is that what you said?
Number 4, yep. Final Fantasy 4.
4 is 2, you said, for Super Nintendo?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay, cool. I'll
so if you're using an emulator, like a Super Nintendo emulator, then you'll be looking up Final Fantasy 2. If you're using anything else, it will be known as Final Fantasy 4.
Okay, cool. I will check that out. I will give it another shot. We'll see how it goes. So
hey, send us a message when you find out how it goes.
Will do. Yes. I'll send an email. distortedopinionshow@gmail.com. So,
you can leave a voicemail too.
I could do that. I could. Well, I can't do that because I manage the Anchor account, and as the manager of it, you can't leave yourself a voicemail. So I'd have to sign
disappointing.
out,
They should
sign
fix
into
that.
someone else. Yeah.
Just call from your work.
That's true. I could do that. So my pick for game this episode, I was kind of going back and forth because I think I've touched on a lot of different games that I'm familiar with over the last few episodes that we've talked about this topic. I know I've touched on Grand Theft Auto, and we've talked at length about Legend of Zelda and Secret of Mana, but I don't think I've talked very much about Sonic the Hedgehog.
Which one?
Any of them? Like,
well, time out. It depends.
Any
Which
of the early ones. So, the Genesis, in particular, Green Hill Zone, Marble Zone, Spring Yard Zone, like all those songs are, in my mind, classics. Even if I don't remember much about the actual game itself, these are songs that have stuck with me. And I think they're classics, in my opinion. I haven't played any. I was actually just looking up a little while ago a list of all the different Sonic games, and I didn't realize how many there are.
Yeah, it's like Castlevania. Like there's just a new one out every year,
Yeah, apparently,
or 3, and then that's it.
It's up there with Mario in terms of like how many games they have. Sonic Adventure 2 on the Dreamcast. I remember that having a fun soundtrack.
Oh, Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 were phenomenal games. And I'm crossing fingers. And Sega, if you're hearing this, I know you're coming out with something. Okay, that's going to be like mind-boggling. I'm really, really hoping you're going to answer the fans and come out with Sonic Adventure 3. It needs to happen. It needs to happen.
Should they email you about that?
Yeah. If they hear this, send us a message to make sure we heard.
At distortedopinionsshow@gmail.com.
Also, we're looking for sponsors.
Whoa, can you imagine a Sega sponsor? That'd be ridiculous.
I mean, hey, we heard you guys. We want to sponsor you. Just reference a Sega game every time. Okay, today's Sega game.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Kayla. We steamrolled away with that one.
It's all good. Yeah, no. So this is going to be very brief for me because.
So you're referencing the first game.
Yes.
For the first Sonic. Okay.
I suppose so. I wasn't even sure which game it was actually off of because I didn't realize how many games there were. But yes, I'm talking going back to the original, I guess, Sonic 1. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Got some trivia for you after you're done.
Uh-oh. Well, we'll go right ahead. We can consider, I mean, like I said, I'm going to be very brief just because I don't play as many games as you guys do. So, and most of my gameplay is older stuff. So, go right ahead with the trivia because you're probably going to hit us with something we don't know, or at least I don't know. So, what do you got?
So, a very famous artist contributed to Sonic 3.
Really?
Who is it?
Michael Jackson.
Boom. You're right. Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's why she's our guest.
She was quick.
Absolutely.
She was like,
I got that.
I'm an expert. I remember hearing that somewhere.
It's confirmed. He contributed to a bunch of the theme songs for the levels in Sonic 3. And then when Sonic 3 blew, so a little bit of history with Sonic 3 is that Sonic 3 was going to be this big ass game, okay? And then what happened is obviously because of compatibility, they had to shorten it. But at the same time, they didn't want to lose the rest of these games. So that's when, ready? Drum roll. Sonic and Knuckles came out because they introduced Knuckles in Sonic 3, and the fans were saying, this is great. Who the hell is this character? And Sega Incorporated didn't state that, oh, hey, by the way, we have this second part to it. And by the way, we're also going to introduce the second part of this game called Sonic and Knuckles. And what's great about this is that, you want to play as Knuckles? Cool. So we're going to make him compatible. So you could go ahead and play as Knuckles on Sonic 2 and Sonic 3. And then when you port Sonic 3 on top of Sonic and Knuckles, you could play separate levels of just Knuckles himself on the Sonic 3 port. So that's why there was those two compatible versions. And when you put Sonic 1 in on the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge, you play nothing but the little mini games of the blue and red bubble games. Because they weren't able to incorporate Knuckles into Sonic 1 because of the formatting, but they were able to do it with Sonic 2 and Sonic 3. So,
interesting.
Anyways.
Fun facts. Nice. No, I had no idea on the Michael Jackson music. That is, I just did a quick search. I'm going to have to listen after the show. Somebody compiled a list of the songs on, or I guess clips of the songs on YouTube. And I don't know, because I only listened to a very brief snippet of it just now. I don't know if these are actually songs that were in the game or if they just created kind of like 16-bit versions of Michael Jackson songs and put them to this gameplay, but I'm pretty sure I heard Billie Jean.
I don't know if it was like.
Yeah, I don't know that it was
it
like
wouldn't
actual
be
Michael.
that early, but
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna have to. I'll have to look after and take a listen because I'm pretty sure I've played this, but I just don't remember the music from this one. So now I'm really curious. Cool, fun facts.
it's a little bit of trivia and whatnot. But I'm glad you brought up a classic Sonic game and whatnot, because that was also the other flack too that we haven't brought. That was brought to me is, why haven't you guys talking about Sonic?
I'm surprised we haven't, to be totally honest, because I felt like Sonic was one of those games that's just kind of a given.
A given. Yeah. You would think.
But I guess not. Not on Distorted Opinions. So we're hitting it today on part 3 of this conversation.
Which is funny because we got flack for not talking about Castlevania or Sonic, but not flack on Super Mario.
Yeah,
well,
I feel like
at least I haven't heard anything.
Well, that was the next game on my list.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah,
it's covered now.
yeah.
It's about to be covered.
There we go. Nobody can complain now, or maybe they can. But yeah, no, that was another game that was on my list. And again, I'm mostly familiar with the Nintendo version of Super Mario. There was Super Mario Brothers, and then there was Super Mario Brothers 3.
That'd be the one.
This one?
That would be the one.
The one that has the game in it? I was just confirming.
So for
Yes,
the
that's
audio
the one.
listeners, Kayla has basically a light box of the question mark that Mario would jump up and hit, and she's pressing the top of it, and it makes that jingle sound. Or there's a button on the bottom, rather.
No, it's when you push it down. I'm probably banging
And
my
then it
mic
lights
all
up
around
after
before we get
that.
there.
So pretty neat.
Yes, I've had it behind me the last couple of video game episodes, but I hadn't put batteries in it, so it just sat there not illuminated. But yeah, with
Now watch,
batteries,
YouTube's got to flag us now.
Ah,
Probably.
God. I hope not. Well, they might flag us for your little ornament there playing the Mario theme. I don't know about the coins, but hey, I'm challenging it.
I'm challenging you. If you have a problem with it, reach out to us at distortedopionshow@email.com. I think it's safe to say I got the email down now.
Yeah, and you're making sure that everybody knows it too by dropping it every 5 minutes. I don't know that we need to remind people at the end of the show because I think it's been covered.
It's been well established at this point.
Oh, shoot. I love the pause for effect there, though. And if you have a problem with it, distortedopinionshow@gmail.com. Attention, Matt.
Right.
So yes, the other game that's on my list is Super Mario, or I guess, yeah, Super Mario Brothers, and you've got the SNES version or the original Nintendo version that Matt just demonstrated through his ornament there. And then there was it Super Mario Brothers 3, which was also for NES.
Yes.
And then Super Mario Brothers, the Super Nintendo version. And
Super Mario World.
I was going to say, I thought it was Super Mario World, but I couldn't remember. Yep. Those 3 are probably the 3 Mario games that I'm the most familiar with. I think definitely the original Nintendo Mario has a lot of memorable music, but for me, I think the Super Nintendo version has the most recognizable and memorable music as part of that soundtrack. And again, right. I don't know, maybe it just goes back to I spent a lot of time watching my grandfather play that game when I was a kid. But yeah, that's another classic with some distinguished music as part of the soundtrack that I can't believe we haven't talked about so far. I feel like Ted brought something for show and tell.
Well, and I realized that in an effort to get one of my NES cartridges working, the Super Mario Brothers 3 and regular Super Mario Brothers with the gun is no longer in this house at the moment. So it's out for repair. However, in the quick
there it
the
is.
original Zelda cartridge, however, is
nice.
still here and amongst the other games, but things we've talked about already. This is one that we've already brought up in the past, but just a little show and tell.
And I have my ornament.
Matt's got the miniature.
Ted has the real thing.
Yeah, this is the real one.
That's the real thing.
I didn't realize the actual game cartridge was chrome or whatever.
It was just a side note on that. The gold cartridges had a battery inside, so it was one of the few games you can actually have a save file, because the battery would keep the electronics alive long enough that you could it'll be able to store data, as opposed to any other gray cartridge where obviously you couldn't shut the system off
right.
because you're going to lose all your progress.
Been there.
Yeah, right. No, Mom, don't turn off the controller. Don't turn off the game.
No. Please don't let there be a power outage.
Yeah, I definitely remember as a kid pausing the game, going to dinner, and then as soon as dinner was done, going right back downstairs, and because you can't shut the game off, like there's no save.
Yeah.
But the Zelda 1 and 2 came in gold cartridge for that reason.
Oh, interesting.
Adventures of Link, Zelda 2.
Yep.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I know I could go on all day about Zelda. That's, well, and now, I don't know.
Another part trivia is that those games naturally came in the gold cartridge. However, in 1990, New England. Nintendo came out with Nintendo World Championship.
Oh, right.
And for those that really want to get a really heavy history with some good comedic elements and a lot of vulgar, definitely recommend checking out Angry Video Game Nerd. He has a whole episode dedicated to this. And what was great about this is that at the very end of this contest, the players and the winners would receive the gold cartridge for this and for Nintendo World Championship. And to this day, if you find one, save it, because it's an investment, number one. But number two, they are going for over $100,000. So they're the only other Nintendo Gold cartridge out there that is on a higher value versus when on regular production lines, it was only Zelda and the Adventure of Link in the Gold cartridge.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. The only two that I've seen and the only two I have, and makes sense that was those were the only two games. Interesting. But yeah, the World Championship version or edition of cartridges are highly sought after.
Yeah.
Yes,
they do exist. There's a handful out there, but yeah, they're good luck finding one. It's one of the scarcities, and I'm pretty sure at this point they're all accounted for or should be within reason. But yeah, if you have one, it's worth a lot of money.
Yep. So look for
a gold mine.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
The gold cartridge and the gray cartridge of those games.
I've only seen the gray cartridge of Worlds, that World Championship.
Right.
I haven't seen a gold one. So
the gray cartridges was used for the actual, and those are out there. Those are used for the contest itself.
Right.
And the gamers got to keep that, but there was only, and again, correct. I want to say probably about 10 gold cartridges ever made for after that year.
Wow.
So I mean, they're out there. eBay it. And
if someone's trying to sell it,
go for it.
Yeah.
I would probably recommend the ones that are certified, because you have those that are saying, "Oh, this is the real deal." And
right.
Matt, is it on your wish list next to the Outrun cabinet or the Ninja Turtles cabinet, or?
I'm telling you, man, it's if I could get my hands on one, I might retire early.
How would you retire? You spend all your money on the cartridge.
I know.
That's a counter argument. That doesn't make sense.
You're not retiring at all.
Yeah.
You're gonna pay off the cartridge.
No, my ass. I'll probably get too excited and play the damn thing. Oh, I just broke it.
I can
Nice.
just
There it goes.
imagine a conversation with your wife. We have to sell the house and we're going to be living in the car, but look at this cartridge that I got. Isn't this cool?
Logan doesn't have a savings account anymore, so you're okay with that, right?
He's not going to college.
Yeah. Why didn't you sell your guitars, Matt? Whoa, we're not going there. Not going there.
Oh, shoot.
Tell that to a guitarist. Sell your guitars. Ha! Not happening.
True. Very true. If I had a nickel, man, I've got so many guitars, half of them I don't play, but I'm not parting with them.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be hard pressed to get me to get rid of them. I'm not, because one day I will play them again. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but that guitar is coming out of the case and it's getting played again, so there's no way in hell I'm getting rid of it.
I'll amputate my toe before I give away my guitar.
Raising the
And I have
stakes.
10 of them, so if I have to get rid of 10 toes, that's fine. Not my fingers, though, because I need my fingers to play. So I can't say, hey, I'll give my right arm. No, because that wouldn't make any sense. Why would I keep a guitar then?
Anyway, on that
Alright.
ridiculous note, what do you guys think about songs of the week?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you guys want, I can go first because mine kind of ties into some previous shows.
We're
but-
already
Do
here,
it.
so go for it.
All right.
Go
All right.
for
So before I get into my song of the week, just a weekly reminder that we have a song of the week playlist over on Spotify. We put the link to that in the description of every episode. And as long as the songs are available on Spotify, they go into that playlist. That being said, the video game episodes are a little more challenging because a number of these songs aren't available on Spotify. So instead, what we've done is we have a YouTube playlist that includes all of the songs we talked about on the previous episodes about video game soundtracks. It'll also have everything we talked about today and a few additional songs that we've handpicked and kind of curated for that playlist. So both playlists, the links will be in the description of the show. Go check them out. That being said, my song of the week pick is actually from 2019, and I didn't find out about it until just recently. I think, Ted, you actually might have been the one that introduced me to this, because I believe you sent a link to the video for this song to the Jam Session group a few months ago. And that song is August Burns Red, The Legend of Zelda.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
That cover is great.
It is awesome. I can't believe I hadn't heard it before. If there's anybody else who hasn't heard this yet, definitely go check it out. But this song apparently was kind of the brainchild of bassist Dustin Davidson, who was a huge Legend of Zelda fan. He talked in an interview about how he used to rush home from school to get his homework done, and he and his brother would fight over who was going to get to play it that afternoon. But apparently it wasn't just him and his brother that were fighting over who was going to get to play it. His mother was also a fan of the game, so the three of them would all be fighting over who was going to get to play this game.
That's
Which I
amazing.
think is just awesome. So the video features the guitarist playing two really awesome Kiesel guitars. I'm just going to start with that. Like, those guitars, I'm jealous. I'm super jealous of the guitars he's playing in this video. And he's also wearing a Link costume through part of the video, which is
You have to.
hilarious.
you have to.
He's got the wig and the hat and the whole 9 yards. It's fantastic.
Does he say, ah?
No, I don't think he
No?
makes
Oh.
any sounds. But at the end of the video, there is an argument, or like a staged argument, between him and one of the other band members about the fact that he's having a cosplay session without inviting him. And it's super funny. You have to watch the video. But the song is awesome. It starts out really mellow with the Hyrule Fields theme for about the first minute or so. And then after that, all of a sudden it's like, boom, in your face, heavy metal, Zelda
August Burns
medley.
Red style. Like,
Yeah, super awesome. I personally would say this is probably one of my favorite covers of a Zelda soundtrack to date. It's just really awesome, especially if you're into metal. You definitely want to check it out. And again, most of the songs aren't available on Spotify, but this is one that I do know is available, so this will be in the Song of the Week playlist on Spotify. So if you're like me and you hadn't heard this song yet, definitely go check it out. You're not going to be disappointed. August Burns Red, Legend of Zelda, that's my pick for this week.
I'm excited. I'm going to check it out.
Definitely. With that, I'm not sure who wants to take it from there.
Michelle, go after it.
All right. So the song I picked is actually from the game Hades, and I checked on Spotify. It is on Spotify. It's called Mouth of Styx. So going with that Greek mythology theme, so the river Styx. And it's the first level, the first real level that you get into, and it's just got this cool, like, bop your head sort of vibe. Like, every time I get to this first level and the song starts playing, I'm just like, I'm just bopping along with it. I'm always dancing to it. And it starts, then like, all of a sudden the beat is established and then the strings come in. And then it's got like this really cool, like almost like haunting, like howling in it too. That doesn't sound musically appeasing. Like it works. It works. It's just really fitting for the game, and you know, you're in the underworld working your way out. It's a really cool song. I guess you have to listen to it to know, but
awesome.
Highly recommend that. Mouth of Styx.
I'm gonna give it a listen. I'm gonna have to give it a listen because I'm gonna edit this, so I'm gonna hear it. But... Awesome.
That is definitely a good pick. It's catchy. I feel like a lot of the music in Hades in general is very well done. So hence your pick to talk about it this week anyway. So makes a lot of sense. Matt, what do you have for your pick of the week?
Sure. Kayla, you referenced Super Mario. You referenced Super Mario 3. I'm glad we didn't reference Super Mario 2 because who cares for Super Mario 2? Whoops. Might triggered some people.
Should we send an email?
Yeah.
What's that email again, Matt?
If you're triggered by the fact that we are not great fans of Super Mario Brothers 2, or if you agree, send us a message. No.
distortedopinionshow@gmail.com, baby. And then you referenced Super Mario World.
Yep.
Super Mario 64. My song of the week, specifically, Dire Dire Docks.
Nice.
The Dire Dire Docks theme. The electric piano blending in with this world atmosphere gives such a nostalgia, a wordless nostalgia that is calming and at the same time motivating. I don't know if that really kind of works together, but to this day, and you know, that was gonna be my next level before we started the show. Sorry again. There's just something about that tune it's very calming, and I think it really blends well with a water-like level versus in previous water worlds of Super Mario. It's been a little like cheery, kind of kiddie-ish. Like, oh, hey, here we go. We're going to be swimming. Hey, let's put the frog suit on. Oh, here we go. Oh, watch out for the squids. But for Super Mario 64, when you're playing Dire Dire Docks, and the only thing that's intimidating with that level is really the eel. Oops, spoiler alert. It's
spoiler alert for a game that's 20-something years old.
Hey, you never know. You never know. Sorry.
The game's old enough to drink.
I know.
Seriously. 96 came out in 96. So what? That's over 25 years old?
Yeah,
no, 35 years old.
25 this year.
Oh yeah, isn't it 30? Because they just re-released
35. No.
Wait, what are you talking about?
I'm trying. Okay, it came out in 96.
1996 to now.
It's 21 now.
Yeah.
35 years.
25.
No, 25 years. 25
What,
years.
1996. 25 years.
By the way, we also do math here as quizzes too. So hey, if you're a math major, this is the show for you.
In case you were curious, Matt used to work in a bank.
with Ted.
I know, we worked together. Yeah.
Dude, Ted and I would close a branch in 7 minutes or less. That's how good we were.
I mean, we had a lot of fun. Anyway,
Yes, we did.
Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario. So Dire Dire Docks is going to be my theme song of the week. Again, if you haven't taken a listen to it, if it may sound familiar to those that have played the game, but they're kind of like, hey, what the hell is he talking about? What level are you talking about? No, it's definitely go recommend it. And then it'll be a flush of memories. It'll bring you back to those nights where you had your best friends over and you stayed up until like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, either playing GoldenEye or taking turns on Mario levels, trying to get the star and trying to figure out how to get to the star. And what does it mean by, destroy King Babam on top of the mountain, whatever it is. So that's going to be my song of the week. Is going to be Dire Dire Docks theme from the 1996 Nintendo 64 game, Super Mario 64.
Nice. And actually, funny you mentioned GoldenEye, because I was toying with the thought of actually referencing the music in that, just because when you're playing it forever, it definitely is nostalgic at this point. Obviously, James Bond influence. I mean, it's the James Bond game, but the way that they incorporated that and made that into the game for GoldenEye in particular, the music works really well. Anyway, side note, that's not my pick of the week, though. I am going back to a game that we've already talked about in a prior episode, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Whoa!
And the song Unshaken is towards the end of that game. If you haven't played it, it will definitely stand out compared to... I mean, the music in that game is phenomenal anyway. But this song in particular, it was written and... sang. The artist is D'Angelo, not the subway chain or the sandwich chain, but the artist's name is D'Angelo. And
not to be confused with the musical artist named D'Angelo too.
Well, he is the musical artist. He wrote the song.
Oh, D'Angelo wrote this song?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Oh. So yes, to be confused.
To be confused exactly with the person who did indeed write this song.
Wow. Okay. I'm done. Sorry. I'm done.
So the songwriter, D'Angelo...
Not to be confused with the sandwich.
Not to be confused with the sandwich company.
You know what? I'm just going to harakiri myself.
Wrote this song, and it has a really good rhythm, and obviously it's in a transitional point in the game for the main character, Arthur Morgan, and basically...
You might want to say no spoilers for this one, actually.
Yeah. I'm just stopping it there.
Yeah.
I'm stopping it there. It's a transitional portion of the game in regards to the main character, and it works really well. The song's beautiful, in my opinion, and it the producer for the entire soundtrack actually played the guitar on this piece as well, Daniel Lanois. But the rhythm of the guitar is in pace with the horse's gallop, and the theatric pan of the segment while the song is being played is also quite beautiful in the game too. So definitely worth a listen. And knowing how eclectic our playlist is getting, I didn't want to just throw in some random video game, like just some random track. I wanted to kind of keep it somewhat relevant to the ridiculous variety of songs that are in that playlist. So, I mean, it is still in a different vein than a lot of the other songs that we've selected thus far, but definitely not arcadey in that sense. It's definitely more of a traditional song with guitar and vocals. So yeah, that's my song of the week.
Nice.
I like it.
All right, guys. Well, I think we've reached the end of the show, unless there are any other games or songs.
Shout out. Thanks, Michelle, for joining us today.
No problem.
Always great to have you back.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, definitely.
Had a good time.
Glad we had a chance to give you a proper intro, because it wasn't until a few weeks later that we had another guest on, and Ted was like, we really didn't intro Michelle. We just kind of.
It's okay. We're only a couple months later delayed. At least you got it.
Well, that's the hard part, right? We hang out so much, or when we could, just it goes without saying. Oh, Michelle's here. Like we just glossed it over because we're already hanging out so much anyway.
Yeah. So yes, thank you very much for joining us again. It was great having you on the show. You always bring some good games, good picks, good soundtracks, and hopefully we'll be able to have you back on at some point down the road when we revisit this topic. But to our audience, if there's a soundtrack that we didn't touch on, which I'm sure is going to be the case, or maybe there's another musical related topic that you'd like to talk about, or maybe you want to come on a show and be a guest and talk about that topic, you can reach out to us. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can leave us a voice message on our Anchor page at anchor.fm/distortedopinions. While you're there, you can find links to our social media accounts, as well as a partial list of the places where you can find the show in audio-only format. If you don't see your favorite podcast platform listed there, just search for Distorted Opinions on that platform, because there's a good chance that it's going to be there. It's just not listed on our Anchor page. The other way you can reach out is via email. Do I even need to give the email address this time?
We've covered it.
You don't need
80 ways to Sunday.
If you don't know the email address by now, well, that's I don't know what
You're
to
not
say.
listening.
So with that being said, there's a few ways to reach out to us. Utilize one of those methods if you want to get in touch with us, even if you want to just say hi. And with that, thank you to our audience for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Thanks again, Michelle, for joining us. We hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, Michelle.
No problem.
All right. Thanks.
Toodaloo.
See you guys.
Bye.
Back to your game, Matt.